Greetings and welcome. I'm back to continue with the topic mergers and acquisitions. The subject is advanced financial management. We've been studying the various methods that we can use in valuation of a target company for mergers and acquisition purposes. So far, we've done the net asset basis method, the PE ratio basis method, the dividend growth model. We covered the super profits model. In our last session, we analyzed the capital asset pricing model. Today, we move to cover the last model, which is the discounted free cash flows basis. The discounted free cash flows basis. Discounted free cash flows basis is a fundamental and widely used valuation technique in mergers and acquisitions. And it estimates the intrinsic value of a company by projecting its future cash flows and then discounting them back to their present value. It involves predicting or projecting the future cash flows of companies, then discounting the cash flows back into their present value. The method is based on the principle that the value of a business is the sum of its future cash flows discounted to reflect the time value of money and the risk associated with those cash flows. And in mergers and acquisitions, it's used to determine the price a buyer should be willing to pay for a target company or the price a seller should accept. So in this lesson, we are going to outline the steps in discounted cash flows basis method. Then we will work out an illustrative example in our next session. First of all, let's analyze the steps. If you are to value a target company for the purposes of acquiring it or merging with another company, how do you go about it? The first step is to project free cash flows. Project future free cash flows. 1. Project future free cash flows. Project future free cash flows. And this is the most critical and often the most challenging step. It involves forecasting the target company's future financial performance, typically over a period of 5 to 10 years. Right? Projecting the future cash flows of the target company. Do you understand? Then there is what we call, this is A. B, there is what we call the free cash flow to firm. 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 FCFF. Free cash flow to firm. Free cash flow to firm. This represents the cash flows available to all capital providers. The cash flow available to all the capital providers. That is the equity holders and the debt holders. The free equity to firm. And how do you calculate the free equity to firm? The free cash flow to firm? Now, to calculate the free cash flow to firm, first of all, we have the earnings before interest and tax. You take the EBIT, earnings before interest and tax, multiply by 1. This is 1 minus T. The corporation tax rate. You add depreciation. You add depreciation and amortization. You add the depreciation and amortization. Take first of all the earnings before interest and tax, multiply by 1 minus T. T is the tax rate. You add the depreciation and amortization. Then you deduct the capital expenditures. deduct the capital expenditures, earnings before interest and tax times 1 minus T plus depreciation and amortization minus the capital expenditures. Then you also deduct the changes in net working capital. Deduct changes in net working capital. Deduct changes in net working capital. That will give you the free cash flow to firm. Free cash flow to firm. Free cash flow to firm is equal to AB times 1 minus T plus depreciation and amortization minus capital expenditures minus changes in net working capital. Changes in net working capital. That is the free cash flow to firm. Then C, we have free cash flow to equity. Free cash flow to equity. Free cash flow to equity. FCFE. Free cash flow to equity. Free cash flow to equity represents the cash flow available only to equity holders. Free cash flow to equity represents the cash flows available to only equity holders. The free cash flow to the firm represents the cash flow available to both debt holders and equity holders. It represents the cash available to all the providers of capital. That is the debt holders and capital holders. Free cash flow to equity. Now to calculate the free cash flow to equity, we're going to take the net income. First of all, we begin with the net income. Then we add depreciation and amortization, deduct capital expenditures, then we add changes in net working capital. To calculate the free cash flow to equity, we begin with the net income, we add depreciation and amortization, we deduct the capital expenditures, then we also deduct changes, we deduct changes in net working capital. Deduct changes in net working capital. Then of course, lastly, we add the net borrowings. Let me write it here. Net. We add the net borrowings. That's the only difference. We add here the net borrowings. We add the net borrowings. That will give us a free cash flow to equity. Now in mergers and acquisitions, the free cash flow to the firm is commonly used. The free cash flow to the firm is commonly used. Why? Because it values the entire company. In mergers and acquisitions, free cash flow to the firm is commonly used. Why? Because it values the entire firm, the enterprise firm, what we call enterprise value. It values the entire firm, which is then adjusted for net debt to arrive at equity value. You understand, candidates? The free cash flow to the firm is the total, is commonly used because it values the entire firm, what we are calling the enterprise value. It gives you the enterprise value. After arriving at the value of the entire firm, the enterprise value, then you adjust for net debt to arrive at equity value. So if you have the enterprise value, to arrive at the equity value, you just take let me say equity value will then be equal to enterprise value minus the debt value. So if you have the enterprise value and you have the debt value, adjust it for debt value to get the enterprise value. That's very important. Then E, moving on to E, we have projections. The projections in the discounted free cash flows basis, projections require detailed assumptions about revenue growth, about profit margins, about capital expenditures, about, we've mentioned here, working capital, about the working capital needs. You have the changes in working capital. You have to make assumptions. The projections, because we are using the projected cash flows. To arrive at the projected cash flows, you may need to make assumptions regarding the revenue growth, the profit margins, the capital expenditures, the working capital needs, including the tax rates, because here we also have a tax rate. You have to make projections. And these projections require assumptions. These assumptions are often based on historical performance, on industry trends, on management focus, and potential synergies from the acquisition. So that is what we can say about projections. So that's the first step. Projections. Project future cash flows. Project future cash flows. Projections. I've said that projections do what? Require detailed assumptions. Require assumptions. Okay? About revenue growth, profit margins, tax rates, working capital needs, and so on. So that is step number one in relation to projection. That is all you do.